We're joined now by Ryan Day amidst multiple Heisman trophies, national championship trophies. And what's it like walking through this every day to work, seeing what this place has done?
Yeah, I think, you walk through, the lobby here, and you certainly see all that has come before. And then you kind of walk down the halls and you see the coaches that have come before, and then you continue down and you just learn more and more about, what the program is, for people who just, are coming in for the first time or recruits. But, whether you're recruiting or you're a coach, one thing about Ohio State is, you have to understand, the history of the program and where it's come before and why we're where we are right now. And then where we're going, because there's so many changes going on in college football. So I think it's very, very important. And we do as good a job as anybody of selling our traditions and our history here at Ohio State, because again, I think it's very important for our guys now more than ever to understand why it is the way it is. Why is our fan base so passionate? And then where are we going as we move forward and making sure that we're making the decisions that are best for what we have.
Ryan, I've asked you a lot of questions over the years, and I've got some interesting, funny questions that are kind of serious. Okay. So let me just ask you this out of the gate here. We're a podcast. We're just chilling. Sure. So you guys are up 42-0 on Saturday. It's happening, Andy. I tried to talk me out of it. And you're facing 4th and 1 from your own territory with a freshman quarterback who was a 5-star in high school. And you might have thought about punting or running the ball, but you run this wonderfully designed play that springs a touchdown. Did you know what the total for the game was, the over-under, and how happy it was, the people leaving? He told me not to do it, but it's funny because in a world where people who come to your games are judging you based on those numbers, how aware, if at all, are you of these things? And does it change the way that you guys approach what the expectation is going into a game?
Yeah, no, I know that's real. So yeah. It's definitely a fair question. But no, I honestly, when we got done with the game, I didn't even know what the score was. I'm being dead serious, because, what we're trying to do, and I think you can see us just coaching on the sideline and getting after it and trying to coach these guys up, is we're trying to get as many reps as we possibly can for our guys, because, we've learned, in the past, and I've learned in the past how important that is, because in this season in particular, like, it's going to be more games, and these guys got to be ready to play. So these are valuable reps. And what we can't do is just, take the air out of the ball and just say, okay, let's just get out of the game. And sometimes it puts us in a little bit of a situation in terms of our respecting our opponent. Like, you'd say, well, it's 4th and 1. Why don't you just punt the ball and move on and get out of the game? Well, that's a rep that Julian Saying can't get back. That's a rep for Bennett Christian catching a touchdown pass. And you learn about these types of things. And so we're trying to get as many reps as we possibly can, certainly respecting our opponent in that moment. But I just felt like the more these guys can play, the better off we're going to be as we move forward. Get it on film, grade it. And then there's something about, you remember and you learn. And some of our guys for the first time are out there learning, because they make mistakes, you learn. If you've done it before, then you can remember. But the only way to do that is to actually do it in the game. And so that's really what we're focused on. We'll look up at the end of the game and see what the score is.
How much more critical is that now, in not just because of the playoff, where you might have to play 16 games, but also because the way NIL and the transfer portal have worked, I feel like it's a more efficient market now. Like, the guys who would have been sitting here or sitting at Alabama or sitting at Georgia waiting to start aren't. They're going somewhere else to play. So when you have the opportunity to get Julian Saying a 4th and 3, how important is it to have that?
It's huge. And so that's one example. But when you look at NFL rosters who play as many games as they play, and now, close to as many as we're going to play, it isn't always the top end guys that you're talking about. I mean, they turn over their roster constantly, like in the bottom 10 to 15%. Well, when somebody gets hurt now, you can't just sign somebody off of waivers. So it's everybody involved. It's, the 4th-string running back. It's the 3rd-string, left guard. It's like, for instance, in the game on Saturday, Denzel Burke gets taken off for targeting. I mean, what a great example of how Jermaine Mathis has to step in that game and play at a high level. And then what if Jermaine goes down in the game? Now you're on to your 3rd or 4th guy. And so all of these guys getting reps is going to be important, because you can't just sign somebody off of waivers. And And that's also important for practice. It's important for morale. So, I'm glad we got that done the first couple games.
So 6 episodes of The Money Game dropped on Prime Video today. I'm going to start binging this thing tonight. If you would like to watch, you can subscribe to Prime Video using the link in the show description of this YouTube video that you're watching. Also, if you're already an Amazon Prime subscriber, use that link anyway. Helps out your old pals, Andy and Ari, but it will get you directly to The Money Game, which I can't wait to watch that, Ari. And it really has changed everything. And the fact that those 3 were in Baton Rouge at the same time and they could follow all 3 is pretty amazing.
Yeah. The Money Game, otherwise called Life for everyone else, is going to be an interesting look into just kind of how this entire college athletics world is. And we all know and understand that this is happening, but to get a absolutely close look at how it looks is amazing. Ryan, you guys bring a lot of really highly talented recruits into this program year over year. Transfers that come in are also ready-made guys. The talent level on this roster I've seen firsthand for over a decade of where it is in comparison to most other places. But can you contextualize for me just how good Jeremiah Smith is at receiver? I mean, we were having a legitimate conversation with Bill Landis at dinner last night about whether or not you could even compare him to Marvin, and the guy's been on campus for what, a few months?
Right.
Like, let's a real conversation of how good is he?
Yeah.
Is that a crazy thing to even be talking about?
Well, I don't think it's crazy for you guys to be talking about it. I think it's probably inappropriate for me to talk about, in that he's only played 2 games and he's so young. And I think the easy thing to do is to get out in front of ourselves. And, I think if I'm starting to talk too much about that, it's not a good look, and it's not fair to him. I mean, he still has to be young. He's got to make his mistakes. He's got to grow. And, I think he's a hard player to have a comp with because, his size, his explosiveness, his ability to run, his approach. He's very mature for his age. So just like everything else this year, I think the key is just for him to be able to be who he is and try to get better every day and have great practices and, make mistakes and learn from that. I mean, everything he's doing is for the first time. So I know everybody's excited about him. We are too, trust me. He is a special player, but I think we got to just kind of take it one week at a time right now.
Can you tell when you're recruiting someone, because you're recruiting him for 3-4 years at this point, and we see it from the outside, and there are 5-star guys who show up and they're as advertised. There's some who need work and then eventually get there, and then there's some who don't work out at all. Can you usually tell when they show up if they're going to be that as advertised guy? Like when you first saw him work out, was it like, yeah, we got one here?
Yeah. I mean, we knew in high school. Probably one of the most impressive guys we've seen coming out of high school. I mean, it was one of those ones where, like you said, there's some guys that develop at different stages. Whether it's while they're here or Marvin's a guy who really came on late in his high school career, and then as he got here, really took off into his freshman year or sophomore year. Everybody kind of does it a little bit differently. Jeremiah was one of those ones we saw in high school. We knew how special he was. I mean, he's one of the better high school players I'd seen. And Caleb Downs is another one. I mean, he's probably one of the best high school players I've ever seen live in a game when he played against Buford down at Buford when he was at Mill Creek. I mean, he was all over the field, just unbelievable. So, but everybody's different. Everybody kind of has their own journey along the way. But yeah, it was pretty easy to see that. And I don't think it takes, a veteran, scout to identify that he was going to be a great player.
I don't know.
That one right there.
I legitimately still probably would have gotten it wrong, but
I think you could have got that one.
Ryan, your resume with developing quarterbacks has been off the charts in terms of what they produced in college and where they ended up in the NFL. The quarterback that you have here this year didn't come up through the program the way that you have typically done it with other guys. What's it been like to have somebody with as much experience as Will Howard and has the experience of being a quarterback developer coach been different with somebody in this new era of college football where you might hopefully not have to do it, but might have to in the future?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And, we work really hard at developing our guys. And what we asked them to do, I think CJ would tell you sometimes, we asked more of them here than when he was, with the Texans in his first year. And so, whether it's been guys who have been here and gone on, you look at, Quinn, he's done a great job. He was only here for 6 months, but I think he learned a lot when he was here. Joe, when he was here, you've seen Kyle doing well as he's left. But we've also, done great with the guys that we've had here. And, Will, to your point, hasn't been in our system for very long. He just got here in January, but I think every week he's getting more and more comfortable. He's getting more and more of a feel of it, and it's going to come down to red zone. It's going to come down to third down. It's going to come down to 2 minute. But the thing about Will is, first off, he's got great command, but also he can make an effect in the game with his feet. You saw that on Saturday, and we're counting on that to be the difference. But I think every game he plays, he's going to be more and more comfortable. I think it's important to get his feet going. I think when his feet are in rhythm, you can see he got a rhythm early in the game. He can make those throws, and certainly stuff to grow on and build on. But every day he's in it, he's going to be more and more comfortable. He'll become a better and better player.
What's it like when you have a first-year quarterback with you who can say something like, well, I remember when we were playing in the Big 12 championship game 2 years ago, this happened, this defense did this, and this is how we responded to it. How much does it change what you and Chip, the discourse between you guys and Will?
Yeah, here's what he didn't have to learn here. To your point, playing in big games, toughness, demeanor, the way to stand in a huddle and look people in the eye. I mean, those are all things that he's already got. And so that certainly does, allow us to get further along in the process. So it is big. The spotlight's not too big. He's been through those type of things before. So that was good. It allowed us to kind of a jumping off point that was further ahead.
When you first were hired as the head coach here, I went up to New Hampshire and met people that were close to you and spent some time in Manchester. And during the reporting and the story that I wrote, I found out how important Chip Kelly was to you. Having him back here in the building, calling the offense, his wisdom, what's it been like, not just from like a play calling standpoint, but just like having that person with you next to you in the program?
Yeah, it's been big. It's been big. Yeah. I like the way that the offensive staff has come together. I feel like Brian Hartline's done a great job, and Justin Fry, Keenan Bailey. I mean, everybody in that room, Carlos Laughlin, but to have somebody who's been through, so much football in his life. He's been a head coach before. He's been in the NFL. He's done all those things. It's just a great perspective coming in with a fresh set of eyes on everything that we're doing here. I think the great thing is that in that room, everyone kind of sees it the same way because we've been together for a while. But for someone to come in from a different point of view, but also, a lot of what we've done here was what he did because of what, I learned from him when I worked for him. So it's not like this is like way out of left field, but along the way, you start in a path together. One guy goes one way, the other guy goes the other way. And then we're bringing it back together again. So it's been great. It's only a start, but it has allowed me for sure, like even just being in a game and not carrying a call sheet is a weird feeling to me. Like I always feel like I need to grab something, and I don't know what to do when I don't have a call sheet in my hand. But it certainly in the game has made me much more aware, eyes up, involved with everybody in all three phases, looking people in the eye. So that part has been good during the games. And so, but I think so far he's done a great job, and it's also great to have somebody you trust and and that's big.
Be honest. When you were playing for him, was there ever a time he got on your ass at practice and you're like, someday, old man, you're going to be working for me?
No. I could tell you we definitely had.
Although he was a young man then, so
we've had arguments before, but I think that's what's great about Chip and. Talk about trust is that like you can have an argument, you can challenge each other, but at the end of the day, you're going to have each other's back when you walk out of the room. Where sometimes when you don't have that kind of trust or that relationship, it can create issues and problems. Not here, and that's big because he's very, very competitive, and so am I, but we see things the same way, and so there's just and it's a collaboration. It was the same way when he was the head coach. We were always kind of had that relationship, and it's carried over here.
You mentioned how it changes your game day. How has it changed your week?
Yeah, I'm able to kind of spend more time on third down, red zone, and seeing things a little bit further away. I can spend more time on special teams. take a look at what's going on the other side of the ball, have some conversation with Jim Knowles. I can be, in the facility more. I can be down in the training room. I can be with the players. There's just more to it. And then also just time to gather my thoughts on how I need to, talk to the staff that week, how we need to message the team that week. And it's good to be able to just be with your thoughts every now and again too, because before that, there was just so much going on. You're constantly thinking about what to call and how to organize the game plan. So all those things have been positive.
Well, I would also think too that in this new era where so many things have changed in the last 2 years, that being a head coach, I always used to think, and this was my percentage, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I always thought that like 4 years ago, before the world changed, that 75% of the head coach's job was talent accumulation, 25 was culture, game planning, building. I don't know if that is a insane number.
You didn't leave any percentage. We're a bad at math show, by the way.
Yeah.
He didn't leave any percentage for actually like play calling, scheming.
That was like 5%. I don't know.
No.
You work out the math for me when we're done here. But now when you think about the NIL stuff, the way that players are moving in the portal and all the stuff, that the actual roster management of it is more GM like in the NFL than it ever has been before. How much has your life changed, in the last few years, being at a place like this where the demand is no drop off, win every game,
Right.
but also having to stay on top of, well, if somebody's unhappy, they might leave, or if I need a quarterback, I might hurt someone's feelings. Like there's all these different things that you have to have on your plate. And I'm assuming that that's been maybe one of the hardest adjustments of being any coach at this point.
Well, I think when you have an opportunity to be a head coach, typically it's because of the football. Right. But then when you're thrust into the role, that's less of what your job is. So to your point, and in order to move up, you got to give up. And I think for us here at Ohio State, it's been important to recruit at a high level, develop, and then retain. Very, very important. We've added, a lot of people talk about our roster, but we only added, I think, 7 guys, and it's not like we're rolling guys over in the transfer portal and going out and doing that. So that's been very, very important. The culture of our team and making sure that that's big. Talent acquisition is very, very important. I think when you talk about like from January all the way to June, I think that's where it's the most different. Going to different events, meeting with folks, going out and doing these different events. We have a concert here that we put on to raise money for NIL. We have, there's just a lot going on in terms of fundraising and phone calls and things like that. So very much more involved with that to make sure that we're where we need to be. And it's been great working with Ross. Ross really comes in with a great background of this very thing. And as we kind of move forward, trying to figure out what's right for Ohio State as we go. And a big part of that is going to make sure we continue to recruit at a high level and develop and retain. And then when it's right, fill holes in the transfer portal.
So I want to wrap up with this one because Ari just mentioned this is Ohio State. Drop-offs not allowed.
Right.
Bad years don't happen. What is the pressure of that like day to day? And has it changed for you 5 years into the job versus when you first got the job?
No, it hasn't changed. I rember, that press conference, and it was like, you got to beat the team up north. You're going to win every game after that. And that's the job, but I never looked at it like, what if you don't? I've always looked at it like, what if you do? And the opportunity that Ohio State has to offer. And we'll try to make every decision we possibly can to make sure that we understand, like, this isn't just, right now. Like, we have to win right now, but we also have to continue to what you're talking about. We can't have a drop off. And so making all those decisions was something that you learn year in and year out. You learn more about yourself as a coach. I'm now 45 years old and I'm in a different place than I was a few years ago. And every year you learn and you grow and you learn more about Ohio State. You learn more about where we're going. You learn more about being a head coach and making those decisions and making sure you have the right people in the right spots. And, we've been right there before, and what is it going to take to make sure that we get over the hump in those different spots? And that's where the focus is. And you learn every year. And, I think for this group in particular, there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. We've been talented before. We've been young at times. And I think, having a guy like Seth McLaughlin come in, having a guy like Will Howard come in who are, new to the program, but also have experience, is going to be important.
Well, you're going undefeated this week.
Yeah, right.
You got that going for you.
Improvement week. Yeah. We're calling it improvement week because everybody else in the country is getting better. They're That's playing. Right. So we're not treating it like a bye week. We're treating it like an improvement week.
Maybe head to Chili's or something. Get yourself like some some Southwestern egg rolls or something. Give yourself a break too, because I know it's going to be a long season.
It's going to be a long season, but we got to keep working. We'll get some rest this week, but we're going to have a normal practice week. No game on Saturday.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Good seeing you guys. No problem.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.